What we have is what we explained. We know this from the beginning. You have the, I've explained this again before. When you put in plates and you connect your wires, you have to control the current flow in your plate. If you do not control the current plate, what you do, the flow is very low. The magnetic gravitational flow is very, very low. Don't forget that you have already created a nanostructure here. So you have a plasmatic field. In this plasmatic field, when you have created the environment and you increase the current, now in this part of the plate, you work in a plasmatic condition, but a high current. So what you're going to release is literally, if you have zinc, you release zinc oxide. Where in this environment, here, you release CO2 in the water. So you get a combination of two. When you put a load across this, which is a small load, then the situation changes totally in a different way, where this produces CO2 and here you produce zinc. So, as I was explaining before we started the session, when you use a zinc plate, it's literally impossible to produce a pure CO2 or pure zinc oxide. So when you produce this, you produce the two. Depending on how and how much and what you've done. If you connected the wires directly, 90%, 95% of your material is zinc oxide. If you put a load like a LED light or a motor, a small fan motor, 80-85% your CO2. The problem, it's very, very similar, because you see the combination. There is a reason we chose the zinc plate. We are working with carbon. The gravitational magnetic field of the carbon in conjunction allows the creation of a zinc gas. Even when you collect the zinc in the bottom, it still is in a gas state, it's not in a matter state, because you are in the environment of the plate. This plate has dictated the condition, not what is on this side. This environment is dictated by this plate. It's the paymaster, it's a controller. The field of the nanomaterial on the plate sit and crosses the full length. If you manage to create a long enough container and put a copper oxide nano coated on this side, and then place different zinc plates in different positions, you will see how much the difference will be. I've done this, it's a fantastic way to do it. If you manage to offset them, if you look at this box, if you make it 3-dimensional, where your plates sit back to front in a way, one zinc plate hangs there, one zinc plate hangs there, one zinc plate hangs there, you see different type of gases are collected at the bottom. as the strength of the nanomaterial reduces in different. And at this point, you collect more zinc oxide, where here you collect more CO2. I've done all these tests. You can see it, and then when you get tested, then you can't get a confirmation. So how you load your plate depends. If you are going to use the GANs for a specific reason in the space technology, in the plasma production, in nanomaterials, in the health pens, then it dictates what you can do. You're going for the psychological, you're going for emotion, or you're going for different way of interaction of emotions. Then you understand. It took years to develop and choose the zinc as a co-partner plate in this structure. Here you create more environment of a leaf. Here you create more environment of the psychology of the body of the man. That's how your brain structure works. And if you go inside the brain of the man, you understand why the behavior of the emotion in certain ways placed in certain part of the body or in the structure of the brain. So when you use these things and you have just connected the wires at the top to each other, you go for literally producing GANs, CO2, what do you call it, zinc oxide. Very little amount of CO2. When you allow the current to be, I've tested it, LED lights of the green spectrum, the green color is one of the best ones which creates, or the red one, create the CO2 in this environment. It seems to be the right drainage. So people who go and say we tested it, there is no CO2, you have to understand what you're doing. As we say in the old knowledge, whatever you want to achieve, if you don't understand it, you relate back to what you have not achieved to counter your own lack of intelligence. A lot of you don't understand, and you think just because a friend or I can do a Raman spectroscopy, I just test the bottom line. If you haven't made it, how do you expect the cake when you made the recipe for a soup? Very simple. And then you say it cannot be made. It's always a soup you can't make because you haven't put the right ingredients for it. You have to follow the procedure, you have to understand it, and you get to exactly what it is. But the way the structure is, any of you who does that, you get this.